Do we want to do some vocal exercises?
No.
No.
We definitely do not.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. I can do it for a while. Paper poppy, paper poppy, paper poppy, paper poppy. Baby bubble, baby bubble, baby bubble, baby bubble.
Balls deep.
Welcome to Balls Deep, a humorous yet informative medical show with a mission of optimizing your performance in the bedroom, the bathroom, and the boardroom. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Pazona, a board-certified urologist and CEO of Pazona MD. We hope you enjoy. Now, let's jump right in. Stream team, welcome to another episode of Balls Deep. Dr. Joe Pazona, and I've brought back a familiar face.
I'm back.
Yes.
Actually, you're back.
I
You
know.
were gone for the last 3 episodes, and I tried to handle this thing solo. Not quite sure how that went. I'm glad you're back.
Absolutely. It's good to be back. I think it's always good to get a little apart, but then kind of come back together.
Then we come back together, reunited, and it
Absolute-
feels so good.
That it does. That it does.
What are we talking about today?
Well, this may seem a little bit off subject, but just stay with us. We're going to talk about the best investment advice that you've never heard of.
Oh, we're going to be a finance show now.
No, but
You said investments.
yes. Well, there's lots of different types of investments.
That's true. Where are you headed with this?
Well, should we dive deep?
Let's go deep.
Balls deep.
So, investments. We always think about finances, but if we really look at what's important in life, I would argue that it's first and foremost health, relationships, and then yes, finances are important. So, why is it that a men's health specialist is talking about investments? Well,
I'm waiting.
You want to save $200,000 in less than 10 minutes?
Oh, I definitely do.
All right. You want to know the key?
Yes.
A vasectomy.
Huh. That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
A vasectomy
Yes.
is going to save me $200,000 in 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe not me personally, but a man,
A family.
a family.
So let's go through a little scenario.
Let's
here,
break it down.
Because
Okay.
listen, if you're a couple and you've decided like we're done and he's getting snipped, like maybe this isn't the episode for you. But if you're kind of like on the fence or you've just been going on with your usual birth control, let me walk you through a couple different scenarios. So imagine one of the two following. Either you're in your mid to late 40s, kids in high school, you're counting down the maybe years, months, or even days to you're an empty nester.
You're close to the finish line.
You are soon to regain your freedom. Or imagine a scenario where you are young parents and you've had, say, 2 kids and they're finally out of diapers and they are sleeping through the night. And oh my God, you went on a date night last week. What is that? And then all of a sudden, you get a phone call while you're at work one day and it's from your partner. And she says, honey, I'm pregnant. Imagine what that is like. And I don't think enough people do that, but yet 99% of people and couples are walking around, whether they've got 0 kids or 9 kids, and they're literally playing Russian roulette on a weekly basis every time they have sex, when they're relying on other birth control options. And so I don't think people appreciate the emotional, the physical, and the financial strain of that unintended pregnancy. Listen,
Of course, you're talking about something that's unexpected.
Absolutely. Right. Listen, again, I take care of a lot of couples and guys who have no kids, and they want to keep it that way.
Sure.
Totally respect it. And then I've had people with 9 kids. And, again, they've fielded a baseball team. They're good. They don't need any bench players. So I'm not making any judgments on whether you have kids or not, how many kids. It's that concept of that unexpected pregnancy. And I don't think people understand the relatively high likelihood it could happen when you're relying on other forms of birth control.
Well, it certainly happens to women. I can think of friends, people taking regular, women taking contraceptive birth control. You take an antibiotic for an illness that you have, and all of a sudden that birth control didn't work in the way that it was supposed to. And you're in a situation you thought you had planned and taken care of, and yet you've slipped through the cracks.
Yeah. And those are real life things that actually happen with more frequency than you
More
think.
often than we think.
So let's kind of dive into some of the different contraceptive techniques that people are utilizing. Okay. So first off, you look at a lot of the hormonal things that women utilize, probably the most common, right? Either the pill, a patch, an implant. Now, the pill is probably the least reliable of all of these because...
Is that true?
Well, if you think about it, if you have an implant, it's there, right? If you have an IUD, it's there. And although they do fail, relatively lower failure rates. Not as good as a vasectomy, but relatively low. But with the birth control pill, you brought up one scenario. You take an antibiotic. You miss a pill.
You forget. We've
Absolutely.
all forgotten.
I mean, the number of stories I've heard of, well, she's on the pill, but we went out drinking a couple weekends in a row. She forgot to take it, and oops.
And voila.
Here we go.
Right.
9 months later, we've got a new bundle of joy we were not expecting. I think another thing that doesn't get enough attention, and I'm sure you can comment more on this than I can, is that birth control, especially hormonally, can really mess with women. A lot of women don't enjoy being on the pill or having their hormones manipulated. It can lead to irritability, decreased sex drive, a lot of different things. And so very often guys are coming in for vasectomies and I go, well, what brings you in? And he says, well, my wife's just really not doing well with the pill. I hate to see her suffer.
That's true. I've heard that from a lot of women through the years. To cut you off for a moment a little bit, a lot of women, I was even sort of surprised to hear this because I took a birth control pill for many years. Luckily, it worked well and okay for me, but so many of my friends, when it would come up in conversation, they would say, I'm not taking that anymore. I can't. I don't feel good. They would make a list of different ways that it was affecting them to the point that they absolutely did not want to continue taking it. So then what's the option? And the options become much more limited at that time.
Well, and women are more often to just suffer in silence.
We're pretty good at suffering in silence. Unfortunately, that's not our best tactic, but we do it.
And
we do it often.
Again, when a woman's like, listen, dude, you ain't touching me until you get a vasectomy because I need to come off of this. Very easy sort of discussion. But I think if men got a little bit more curious and actually asked their partners, how are you doing on your birth control? I think you'd be surprised as to how often a woman really isn't feeling great, and that's the root cause. So again, as we think about, as an investment here, you're investing in the relationship, right? You want your partner to feel good. I mean, no one wants an irritable spouse.
I do not.
You both want to be on the same page sexually. It can decrease libido in some women. And so I think that let me speak to my male cohort out here. For your own selfishness, talk to your partner about this because it may be, it's not always. And again, if it's a great option for her and it's worked, keep going. But you may be surprised and find out that it isn't always there. And then you look at typically what are some other options? Well, people come in and bring up a tubal ligation. Now, in terms of efficacy, it's incredibly effective.
And that's what women and people constantly refer to as, quote, having your tubes tied for a woman.
Correct.
A tubal
Correct. Thank
ligation.
you. Yes. So I'm not going to give you any arguments about the efficacy. The problem is it is an intra-abdominal surgery. And
that's not to be taken lightly.
100%. And although most of the time it's very, very uneventful, it's done under general anesthesia. We're putting needles in a woman's belly. Like, bad stuff can happen with minimally invasive surgery. Now, luckily it's rare, but it's above zero. Whereas for a vasectomy, the risk of dying, I actually had a guy ask me the other day, he's like, what's the risk of dying? I said, it's the same risk as you getting in your car and driving and leaving the clinic today. That's the only thing that's going to happen today that's going to potentially kill you is your commute here.
But a tubal ligation is a major surgery.
Yeah, I would say, listen, anytime you undergo general anesthesia and we're going inside an abdominal cavity, that's major.
There are risks.
Now, is it open heart surgery?
No.
Is it a liver transplant? No. Done in 15 minutes by a well-trained GYN is typically very safe. But again, why take any chance when you've got another option that works there?
But if you line those two things up together, a tubal ligation versus a vasectomy,
Oh, it's it's a no-brainer in terms
no-brainer?
of risk. And then let's go back to the investment part of this discussion, which is why we're having this.
Correct.
It's going to be a lot less expensive to have a vasectomy. You do anything under anesthesia, especially elective with a high deductible plan, couple grand. Whereas a vasectomy out of pocket is going to run you anywhere from $500 to $900 on average. So I would say if you look at sort of the next on the list, like vasectomy again wins that head-to-head challenge. And then last one is sort of the dumb luck. Listen, guys, your pullout game isn't that great. And your 5 kids are evidence that it doesn't work. But you'd be surprised how many couples just get very complacent, especially as they get a little bit older and they assume, oh, I'm no longer fertile. I mean, I just took care of a couple who were in their mid to late 40s. They were dinks, dual income, no kids, which is a big growing movement out there. And
I love that, dinks. I've not heard that, but that's funny.
Hello to all the dinks out there.
Hi, dinks.
I'm secretly jealous of you.
Yeah, I kind of want to be you guys. It's awesome.
But again, wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
And this woman actually, she went through her entire pregnancy and didn't know she was pregnant until she was in labor. Imagine that surprise.
Oh, that seems like something that's on like a weird TV show. That doesn't seem real.
It happens more often than you'd think.
So that's absolutely terrifying. I'm going to have a nightmare tonight, but thank you.
So point being, don't leave your birth control up to chance, because those scenarios I talked about, they happen to couples all the time, and they then are coming in for the vasectomy after the fact. And of course, they're embracing that unintended pregnancy and that child. And again, I'm making zero judgments about how many kids you have, and every kid's a blessing. But I think if you rewind the clock and you look at sort of the different tolls it can take on your overall financial, emotional, and mental health, it certainly is or physical health. There's some real impacts there.
I think you should say a couple more things about the effect that an unintended pregnancy can have on your personal wellness journey. I'm thinking of a few things like, with a new baby, loss of sleep, hard to stay in a decent eating routine, managing a tiny little one who's starting to run. I can think of many scenarios where, then you're focused on a very tiny baby, and your own personal wellness is really taking a back seat.
Absolutely.
In addition to your relationships, possibly your relationships with your other children.
Yeah. So let's first dive into the sort of the personal health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
personal health, right.
As a father of 3 kids, I can attest to this. And so let's just go through all the pillars, and you already kind of hit on them. So first and foremost, sleep is the linchpin. You do not get sleep with a new baby. You just don't. And when you do, it is not very restful. It's intermittent. And then what are the cascading effects of lack of sleep? Well, you're more impulsive. So you're more likely to eat emotionally. You're more likely to be angry at your partner. You're tired. What's the likelihood you're now going to go to the gym with a new baby? And even if you have the energy, when are you going?
I don't know.
And who's watching the kid?
It's really tough.
So working out becomes harder. Your hormone levels, we've covered this on multiple previous episodes, decline and are less optimal when you're not getting enough sleep. And even a couple weeks of 5 to 6 hours of sleep can just plummet your hormone levels. So it's this sort of vicious cycle where it's that much harder to work out, that much harder to make good food decisions, that much harder to get good sleep, which then leads to hormone issues. So your health and wellness, it's not that you all of a sudden, every single dad or mom just puts on 20 pounds and isn't healthy. It just has more friction. It is just harder to focus on your wellness, because having a little baby is the most selfless thing you're going to do. You have to give up everything for that little one. And listen, if I could rewind the clock right now and go back to those moments with my kids, I'd do it. I mean, I miss them. My youngest is now 9. It flies by, parents, so enjoy every moment. So again, I'm a dad who loves my kids.
But what you're talking about and what we're focusing on today is is an unintended and a surprise, an unexpected pregnancy that you were trying to prevent.
Yeah, because listen, let me put myself in the shoes of someone who could have an unintended pregnancy. I've focused on my health and been able to do so more in the past 9 years since my last child was born. I had the benefit of having some older kids who helped out a lot with him. I was a little bit older as a parent. And so
got a fabulous wife.
Absolutely. And so, it was easier for me to kind of then start focusing on my health. And I think anyone who right now doesn't have a young kid in the house, you probably enjoy going to the gym and doing all of these things you have time to do. Ask any young parent. And they're not eating healthy all the time. They're not going to the gym all the time.
They're struggling to keep it all together and keep all of the balls in the air.
It is survival mode.
It's survival.
It is survival
It's survival.
mode. So
and
again,
it's wonderful at
yes.
that moment in your life when that is what you're choosing to do and that's what you've planned to do. The problem is when it's not the moment in your life that you've planned to be in that position.
That's what we're getting at, is the fact that, again, for the investment of your health, which I will argue is the most important part of your entire life. Because if you are not healthy, how can you be a good partner? How can you be a good parent? You can't if you are not healthy. You are not as ideal as you should be. And so we've got to get selfish about our health, and having that unintended pregnancy, you can't get selfish about your health. If you do, you may end up getting divorced as well.
Yikes.
So you've got to try and find a way. And I think there are some couples that do a great and beautiful job where, all right, I'm going to the gym. You've got the baby. I need this time. And vice versa, right? Like you go get a nap. I'm feeling good right now. Or you go get your workout. And so I think that's a beautiful thing that couples need to do and should talk about more when they have children, just in general.
For sure.
But it's just more compromises and it's just more friction with that unintended kid.
Go back to what we were beginning the whole session talking about, which is a vasectomy being the best investment that you can make. Talk about the dollars and cents of this. Talk about the black and white on the page.
Yeah, so I think, let's first kind of look at big picture, sort of long term. So start off the episode. So recent study in the U.S., average cost, again, not including private school, travel sports, college, never mind after college when you're paying for graduate school, cars.
Still paying for kids' health insurance.
Weddings, health insurance,
Right.
You name it. It's over $200,000 for just basic needs from 0 to 18.
It's a pretty hefty number.
And, unless you are independently wealthy, that's a big number for pretty much 99% of people in this country. And so, and again, here we are in Middle Tennessee, real estate prices are through the roof. Like if you can't fit that extra child in your house, good luck selling yours and getting a new house. Like, just good luck. Getting a bigger car. We jokingly say vasectomies prevent minivans.
We do. I love that. It's my favorite thing. We put it on a cookie one time. It was great.
So guess what, guys? The sports car's going away if you're having that third or fourth kid.
Yeah, forget that.
You're selling it, whether you like it or not. So, and same thing to the ladies. That cute little coupe that mommy got is going.
That guy is gone.
That is gone. So there's those sort of longer term. But even if we look at our cost at Pazona MD for a vasectomy, all in is about $1,000.
Okay.
And if you use that as sort of an anchor price, that is going to cost the same as 14 months of diapers, 6 months of baby formula, or less than 2 weeks of childcare here in the Nashville area.
That's the one that's painful. Less than 2 weeks.
2 weeks
of childcare.
So whenever a guy gives us a call or come across, I can't afford to have a vasectomy. My answer is you can't afford not to have a vasectomy. Because even if you start throwing in, what are the co-pays for birth control pills? How much does it cost each time to go get your IUD replaced? How much do condoms cost? And again, these things have real failure rates. So you're telling me you're not going to invest $1,000, even with some payment plans, to, again, get an immediate return on your investment that is innumerable comparatively. So I think that is, those numbers should really hit home with people. And again, we're not talking about like some doomsday scenario. I see couples every single week who go through the story I started this whole discussion with. Mm-hmm. We had 3 kids all under the age of 6 and here came number 4, or the couple in their mid to late 40s and the horizon was right there.
The light at the end of the tunnel, the great parenting finish line.
They're about to hold hands, riding into the sunset.
And guess what?
Yeah. Just one, folks, it just takes one time.
Right.
So you're more fertile than you think. And so again, we've covered in previous episodes, a vasectomy with our office is same day. You don't have to take multiple days off of work. It takes us less than 10 minutes. We're going to get you high and do no needle, no scalpel. Most of our guys are
on a medically induced laughing gas. Let me just throw that in there. We're not talking about something wild and crazy.
This is a medical show, and
it's a medical show.
THC gummies are becoming more...
We're not taking you to the club.
No.
Okay.
But it's not as painful as you think. So for a couple hours of your time, an excuse to sit on the couch for a weekend, and to within a week be back to full activities at an investment that has a guaranteed ROI in the thousandths of percentiles, it's really a no-brainer. I just don't think enough guys and women think about these scenarios enough. And that's what we want to do today's episode, is share this because we see it all the time.
From an investment perspective.
Yeah.
And I'll shout out just one more time from the ladies' perspective. All of those things, even beyond the pill, the IUD, the implant that women can put in their arm, those things aren't that easy. They're not that easy to handle. I've heard a lot of women talking about the pain of the implantation of those devices. So to the men out there who might be saying, oh my gosh, it might be painful. I don't know if I want to do this. We would love it if you would spend a little bit more time considering this very short and easy procedure and take a little bit more of the onus off of us.
Yes. And I'll make a last appeal.
Shout out to the ladies.
I'll make another appeal to guys, because as a father, I would do anything for my kids. It's challenging when you have more than one child as a parent to give attention and resources to multiple kids. It just is. And, I've got 3, and I'm sure there's people who have 1 and go, oh my God, how do you have 3? And I'm sure there's guys who have 5, and I look at them and go, how do you do it with 5? Right. But the point is that every child you have, especially if you were not emotionally prepared and ready, like, I don't really think I could do 4 kids. Now, if I had a 4th kid, of course I'd manage. But at some point here, every extra child removes resources from the healthy, beautiful kids that you do have. And that is not only money, but time and energy. And even I struggle trying to give attention to my 9-year-old when my teenagers want to do something different, And again, I love it and I find a way to make it work. But, I'm almost kind of jealous of people who've only have 1 kid, because it's clear who the prince or the princess is. It's a little bit harder when you have multiple children. So again, however many you have is a beautiful blessing. That's wonderful. But just give some extra thought, not only to your partner and what health concerns she has with contraception, but how that impact of an extra kid is going to impact your current kids who are hopefully healthy and wonderful and you love.
I think that's all pretty great.
Yeah.
I think that's all pretty great.
Well,
I think in a wrap up, I'm going to bring it down to my favorite segment. Just the tip. So, of course, just to reiterate once again, the whole discussion today has been surrounding the idea of people who are at a place in their life when they are finished with having children. They have decided yes or potentially no to having children. They have the children that they have desired, and they're ready to use some form of contraception to not have an unintended pregnancy. We're talking about those people,
yes,
just to be clear.
Yep.
So number 1 in our takeaway from today, There is a great deal of emotional strain to an unintended pregnancy that no one really talks about, and it will, no matter what happens, impact every aspect of your life. Number 2, all other forms of birth control, other than a vasectomy, carry a higher failure rate or risk for your female partner. A vasectomy is effective and safe when all the protocol is followed. Just say one sentence, Dr. Pazona, about the protocol after a vasectomy to complete the whole system there.
Yes, because you'd be surprised how many guys don't follow the protocol and they do end up with a pregnancy.
There is a protocol to
Yes.
be followed.
Absolutely.
Certain.
So you've got to do a sperm testing kit and get a report back showing 0 sperm. And that's the scenario we're talking about. And we know people personally, whether they were impregnated the day of the vasectomy.
I'm not naming names, but it happened.
Or someone who did samples and still just somehow assumed that despite not getting a report back with 0, still felt like they could just, quote, give it a try and assume they were okay.
No. This is not a moment for tries and assumptions.
No.
So,
Unless you have a report back showing 0 sperm, in which case then the failure rate is 1 out of 2,500 vasectomies. So 99.95% effective.
okay, great. And the third thing, kids are expensive. They're crazy expensive. And like we said, it costs over $200,000 just to keep a kid alive until age 18. There's no other investment you can make that will guarantee to pay off in the same way, other than a vasectomy.
I think that was a great summary. And, Stream Team, I'd love to hear from you. So first, can you think of any other investment that's going to give you this return on investment? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And secondly, in the comments, what's the most compelling reason that you would consider a vasectomy or you had a vasectomy? We want to hear for what drives you. Is there something that we miss? So please leave a comment. We'd love to engage with you and get more ideas for future podcasts. Hopefully there's some couples out there who heard today's show, Kat, and, maybe they're going to start that vasectomy discussion now. It's not going to just kind of be in the background, something we don't talk about. You got to really have that contraception discussion, because if you're doing anything other than a vasectomy, either the risk is higher than you think or the chance of a pregnancy is higher than you think.
And we could be happier, if I'm honest. Do it for us. We're cute and we're sweet.
Yes. So with that, Stream Team, we appreciate you as always. Please show yourself a little bit more love and kindness. Mistakes are opportunities to grow. And thanks, and have a great day. See ya.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Balls Deep. If you'd like to join our Stream team of listeners, please click the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. For more information about our practice, Pazona MD, please visit pazonamd.com. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and the content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. The show does not constitute the practice of medicine. No doctor-patient relationship is formed through this podcast or any of the social media channels related to this show. The use of this information is at the user's own risk. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.